All right. You're smart. You're funny. People like you. Welcome back to the Zephbug experience. My name is Aiden, and today I will be your guide. I wanted to make a little bit of a quicker video, and so today's video is going to be a bit more unscripted than usual. I just have some notes that I'm going to go off of while I talk about today's game. I've had LEN'S Island sitting in my Steam library for about a year now, and it finally happened where my brain decided, yeah, I mean, that's what we're playing. That's what we're doing. It clicked on, so thank you so much for watching, and let's find out together, is LEN'S Island worth playing? Released on November 26, 2021, LEN'S Island is made by newcomer Flow Studio, an Australian developer. It apparently had been in production for about 6 years, with the first mention of the game being in April of 2018 on Flow Studio's YouTube channel. And I think that they obviously had a shift of focus at some point, because they used to just be a After Effects in like 5 minutes tutorial channel. Being made by a smaller studio on their first game, there isn't whole articles dedicated to the development and ideas behind LEN'S Island, so I'm just gonna jump right into the game, and none of that developer backstory. You guys don't even want to hear that. The game starts with Len washing ashore with nothing but a couple tools on his belt and a thirst. That was the end of the sentence. I'm sure he's thirsty. He was just out in the ocean for God knows how long. That's really it in terms of the story, though. This game really doesn't have a lot of plot or points of plot, to the point where when I actually beat the game, I didn't realize, or at least what's out of the game, it didn't click with me that I had beat like the main part of it. I was looking on their YouTube channel and saw that there was a DLC out, and I was watching it, and I was like, I'm doing this. I'm playing the DLC. Granted, this game is in early access still, even after a couple years of being released, so some of this is completely forgivable. So there was never really a sense of accomplishment when I actually beat Act 4, they call it. I mean, some of the NPCs, you can ask about their backstory, and they will paragraph exposition dump on you. But unfortunately, because there was no larger plot at play, I didn't really have an interest in learning about their stories. It's just like, there's no where do you come from? What do you say? There are little torn pages that you can find scattered throughout the game, but because of the absence of a larger plot, there was no really any connecting threads from any of it, it seemed like. Disjointed pieces of a larger world not yet put together. Again, it is early access, so a lot of this is forgivable, but then what is the game? How do you play LEN'S Island? The gameplay loop is much like most survival crafting games. You know, you gather resources on the island, you build your house and then farm. You use the resources collected from farming to either sell and buy new gear or make restoration items like foods and potion. Use new foods and gears to go deeper into the mines and collect new ores that let you upgrade your equipment so that you can go deeper into the mines and collect new ores that upgrade your equipment. With the upgrades, your tools will let you hit harder, mine higher tier ores, or collect resources faster. You use your upgraded items and equipment to take on higher level dungeons, all the while sailing the ocean, feeling the nice cool breeze. Sometimes you get struck by lightning. In the beginning of the game, you have a tutorial that appears on the screen, and I accidentally exited out of this and just started panicking. I was like, I don't know what to do now. What do I do? Fortunately, it's just in one of the menus, which I found later. The intro is actually set up pretty perfectly to take you around the beginning island and give you a little look of what's to come as you activate lodestones, I guess they would be, and open up the dungeon. The game is doing this a few more times, but in an expanding way. All the while, you'll build your base, and the base building in this is actually pretty well designed. There's a lot of different options of whether you want to be more utilitarian and just build what you need. I mean, that's what I did. Or you can build a castle where you put up decorations that show off nothing except for that you have those decorations. Like I said, there is farming in this game. In order to get the seeds, though, you either have to find them naturally on one of the islands, or sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll drop in dungeons. The mechanic that I interacted with the least is probably fishing, which I don't really hold it against the game because, or the developers, because I don't know if there's a way to make that activity interesting for me. Real fishing is fine, but in video games, there hasn't been a single one where I'm like, now we're fucking fishing, bro. I'll do this for 12 hours. All of that just to take on higher level dungeons, though. So what else is there in LEN'S Island? Well, you can get pets. I mean, a dog, a cat, some other ones. The developers keep all of these mechanics rolling by giving the player achievements that you can see through the game's UI. It gives you a pretty good direction, I guess I would say. I suppose I'm having a little bit of a hard time communicating what exactly LEN'S Island is, because it's kind of ambiguous. Even when I was talking to some people that I know personally, I was like, it's really hard to describe this game because it is so many things. I was talking about it to my girlfriend and she went, so it's like RuneScape. And I went, you know what? It is kind of like RuneScape. But it's also Stardew Valley, and it's a survival crafting game. It's Dark Souls in the dungeons, kind of. It's got bonfires, and you can roll. That's all you need to be a Souls-like now, right? Oh, bosses. It's got bosses too. So, it's pretty much Dark Souls. The combat feels pretty good, though. There were definitely times where I, looked behind myself and saw the horde of enemies that was following me, and I was like, oh, I'm done for. This is it. I'm cooked. But somehow I came through. I think this is generally thanks to the large amount of mobility given to the player, and although it felt good most of the time, it didn't always feel tight, finished. There were a couple of times where I was fighting bosses and beat them, and I just kind of went, I should have died there. I'll admit, that was some cheese. Upon your death, much like other survival crafting games, you drop all of your items. But in this game, there is a system to retrieve your backpack from one of the merchants in different towns. I don't understand, though, why in 2 of the villages I'm able to buy my backpack back with coins, which are a fairly abundant resource later in the game. But one of them I have to buy with what's called Dark Essence, which is a less abundant resource. Why, when even if I drop my backpack in a later island, I can just go back to the first island and pay a lesser amount of resources? Why would I ever? Shouldn't it be locked to the island that you're on? Like, you can, if you're in the dungeon of one island, you can only go to the merchant of that island and get your backpack back. When actually in combat, though, as previously stated, you can roll, swing your weapons. There are different weapons you'll get throughout the game. Things like, maybe a hammer, a sword. I don't want to say much else, because spoilers, I guess. You spoil a game like this? I guess people probably just really play a game like this and look at the wiki and are like, all right, how do I get, what's the best weapon? How do I get it? I try not to do that with games. I try to just play the game with whatever information is given to me. In combat, you also have some abilities you can use which vary depending on which weapon you have equipped. But it lets you do things, like a big spin or a multi-attack strike where you'll hit in one direction several times. Technically, you have abilities for any of your tools, including things like pickaxes or axes, that when you hit whatever resource you need, it'll do extra damage. Also, while doing any activity, there is a crit system, which is very simply just there is a period of time where you hit the button again and you do it right and it crits on the next hit. Combining the crit system with the ability system, you can do some pretty rapid damage to large amounts of enemies or collect resources pretty quickly. So what are my opinions and thoughts about LEN'S Island overall? How do I feel about it? Well, first off, small spoiler here, you get a dog, and your pets need jump animations when they're following you. When you're in caves, they'll just stay behind and teleport to you. Give them a jump animation. It would be way cuter. It would be way better, is what I mean. There is a great foundation here, and obviously good, actual care has gone into building this game. All the systems seem to tie together pretty well. I have over 40 plus hours of gameplay, and I assume if they keep building the game, there will over time be even more to do. I have some minor annoyances with the game, like the dog not having a jump animation. Different islands requiring different resources to retrieve your backpack, even though you can go back to other islands and retrieve it for less resources. Other things are a bit more logistical in the way that they make sense why it's like that, but I wish there was some sort of compromise we as players and they as developers could have. My biggest example of this would probably be the fact that you can't build too close to dungeon entrances. And so on one of the dungeons, it's in this big basin, and pretty much every time you have to restart it, you have to walk all the way back around and down. There's not really anything standing in your way, though, so I don't think this should be the case if the only thing it adds to the game is time. You know what? Actually, I just remembered. There was a couple of times where, like, things just glitched. Like, I remember one time I fell, like, through the map and just had to, like, starve myself there. It sucked. I had to, like, just leave the game running and, like, wait for me to die. So there is obviously still polish that needs to be done here, but the game, I would say even in its current state, is worth picking up. Wait, how much is it? How much is the game? Hold on. Okay, the game is $30. So yeah, I would say that, you know, even in its current state, it's probably worth about $30, and, you know, you could pick it up and just at least enjoy what's there, especially since you'd be supporting the small developer and completing the game that they've already laid such a great foundation for. And the developers actually have a really good roadmap outlining kind of their plans for what's to come, including a hardcore mode and, upon full release, co-op, which I think that's going to add a whole nother level to the game. Co-op is such a good idea for this game. So yeah, I know that this video was shorter than most of my recent videos have been, but I really enjoyed this game and played through it pretty quickly, and I wanted to get something out there because I didn't want to go months without uploading again, especially since I have to get surgery on my arm. That's going to make me incapable of using it for 6 weeks, so I'm in the middle of writing a bigger video. I just was not going to have time before my surgery to write it, film it, and edit it. So that'll come sometime in the next 2 months. But yeah, until then, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash that motherfucking like button, please. And subscribe. If you see more videos like this, check out my other longer videos. They're pretty entertaining. I'm really proud of all of my other videos, so yeah. Not to say I'm not going to be proud of this one. I don't know yet. This was kind of an experiment on my part, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Bye.